language access in particular, and yourself being, bilingual and coming from that background. I wanted to just highlight one of the things that you mentioned in our conversation, that you would see if there was a way to translate decisions that come down, or translate forms so that individuals coming before you had a greater sense and understanding of the process. I think that's key. I will hold you to that if you get confirmed. But I would appreciate you being here, and thank you again for taking the time to speak with me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you. When I heard that your name was coming up, and that we work with legal community in Worcester, I, of course, immediately called my daughter, who's an attorney there, as you know. And I said, putting somebody up named Lionel Jean-Pierre. Do you know him? She goes, Lionel, he's awesome. I go, how do I vote against awesome? As the first awesome nominee you've ever had. You got a great recommendation from obviously someone who's very important in legal work. So I'm going to vote for you next week.
I appreciate that, and Alicia is awesome as well. I know Jonathan talked to you a little bit, but she has been a great addition to our organization, a great litigation director. So I'm very helpful with teaching staff and really helping with some of the cases. So we're both pretty awesome, let's say.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor DePaula.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for applying and for going through the process. This is a really proud day for the Worcester legal community, I think, and I'm proud of how the community has come together over the last several years to support our best and brightest attorneys to be elevated to the bench. I have a stack of letters here from folks. Obviously, we had Jonathan Menina here today. We had one of your former clinical supervisees. Another one has a letter in here. Christina Paradiso, Leonardo Angiulo. Let's see. It's a long pile. I'm not going to name it. But as you know, I'm very excited to see you elevated to the bench. I think it's great. I'm reminded even this morning of some of the challenges that we've had in Worcester Probate Court over the last several years. And I think everyone who practices in that area in Worcester is very excited to see you elevated, and sees you as someone with the demeanor and the temperament to be a consistently outstanding judge. So I look forward to supporting you. I'm anxious to get to the vote.
Madam Chair, can I just make one other comment?
Of course.
I neglected to mention that your counselor is a very big supporter, as is Councilor Paulo. He's talked about you a lot even before I knew you were.
Thank you.
So,
Very good.
That's kind of you, Councilor. Councilor Jacobs.
Thank you. It was great to see you. Thank you for coming out and sitting down with me. We had much longer than I had scheduled for a conversation, covered so many things, but we did that because it was just such a great opportunity to talk to you about probate and family court and your experience, and it was a fascinating conversation that I very much enjoyed. So I don't have a ton of questions. I do know we have a little bit of a time crunch, but I have a couple that I do want to offer to hear your thoughts about. We talked about, in your application, you talked about the concept of restorative justice practices and how they might be brought into probate and family court. And I found that a fascinating concept and one well worth further discussion and consideration. And I think I offered to you at that point my thoughts about probate and family, where there are opportunities for diversion type programs, and that in Western Mass, Franklin County piloted a court that has been renamed a couple of times, but now I think it's called the Wellness Court, but it started out being the Family Drug Court. And since that time, they've also found ways to creatively partner with juvenile court. And so with all of that context, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about your thoughts about sort of the strengths and challenges of probate and family, and where there's opportunities to evolve in ways that will positively impact our families and our communities.
Yes, thank you. I certainly enjoyed our conversation and the beautiful drive out to North Adams Route 2 this time of year. It's fantastic. So I think one of the biggest challenges of the court, especially from the judge's perspective, is that the impact that we have on the lives of the litigants, and we do have a lot of impact, is limited in some ways. Right? The judges can make orders regarding custody, child support, divided property, but a lot of litigants, especially those who are pro se, especially those who are low income, they're going to face some additional challenges based on the decisions that are made. It could be housing insecurity, it could be even food insecurity because the child support only goes so far. If somebody who's an entrepreneur all of a sudden is in arrears by a lot of money, now they have to find another job. They don't know how to do that. So I think with our conversation, what I hope to be clear in the chair of this council is that the more resources that the court can make available to litigants, I think the better opportunity that the litigants have to succeed once they leave the courtroom. And hopefully, whether it's implementing restorative justice principles or having a resource in the court that will address the concerns of domestic violence and the effects on not just the survivor, but the effect on the alleged abuser and their relationship with the children. And I think that those resources can hopefully lead to maybe less contempts, maybe less modifications, if folks are able to access the things they need to improve their lives once they get the decisions from their court and deal with certain issues. And so I think, again, the more resources we're able to provide to litigants, hopefully it will lead to a reduction in cases, but also, more importantly, just put them in a better situation to succeed moving forward.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So in our hearing earlier this morning, I alluded to some research that I found fascinating. I don't think I actually cited what the research was, so I will share it now. But I'm curious if you're aware of this research. There's a professor at Georgetown, a lawyer, George Washington University Law School. Her name is Joan Meyer. Have you heard of her? You're familiar with her at all?
I'm not familiar.
Okay, well, she's done a series of empirical quantitative studies, literally thousands and thousands of cases synthesized and analyzed statistically in family court. And the most recent paper, there's a bunch going back, and so it's like any research, it sort of like builds on itself, so there's a repetition, and so the earlier papers go back decades, but then the most recent is just a couple years old. And that one, the research paper is titled Denial of Family Violence in Court, an Empirical Analysis and Path Forward for Family Law. And the statistics are stunning in this, and also the prior modeling that this was built on, that shows a gender bias in family court where, because it tends to be mothers who bring forward allegations of abuse, either domestic partner abuse or child abuse or physical abuse or child sexual abuse. And each of those has a different outcome that gets increasingly worse in terms of the impact on loss of custody for mothers. So if mothers allege, they tend to lose custody. That's the trend in family court. And what's fascinating to me is, so I have a psychology background. Social psychology is sort of my educational bent. And it's really rooted in a human psychology to mentally deny and back away from horror. So war, trauma, violence, all. We have a tendency to like see but not see. And it shows up in family court in these outcomes that literally statistics bear out. So I offer that to lead to a question of, we did talk about bias. We didn't really talk too much about gender bias. There's so many different forms of bias that show up in the courts. But I'm curious about how much thought you've given to the impact of gender bias in family court, how much work you do currently or plan to do as a judge in terms of staying current with data, with emerging understanding of cultural trends, and otherwise the shifting dynamics that impact our courts. I'll stop there because I can keep asking layering questions onto this, but
So I haven't read the study that you referenced. I'd be interested in looking at it. I think it's very important for anyone who's taking on this role to be cognizant of all biases, including gender bias, racial bias, bias against those who have different abilities, bias with regards to sexual orientation. And I think it's important for judges to sort of do their homework, do self-reflection. I know we talked a little bit about me personally in terms of routinely doing that self-reflection. I'm thinking about decisions that have to be made. But there's also training that can be utilized and accessed, and studying, reading the articles. Because at the end of the day, as I said in my opening statement, the court has to be welcoming for everyone that's coming there seeking justice. And so, and we cannot be blind to the fact that these biases do occur. From the judge's perspective, from my perspective, the number one place to start to make sure that doesn't happen is with the judge, and so that we're making fair decisions, and it's clearly based on the facts of the case, the law, how it's going to apply, and if there's any sense, at least for me personally, that bias has played a role, I want to know why that is, and I want to change it for the next time.
no, I appreciate that. I guess I'll just end with for you to think about how you'll approach it from the bench. But the result of this kind of data being understood, but also I think anecdotally it was felt even before the empirical data came to support it, is there's a tendency for counsel to warn women in situations like this, or not even to gender, but people in situations like this, which tends to be the mother, not to bring up the abuse because they'll risk losing custody. And so there's a fear coming into probate and family to not share, to not be open on these things, which impacts the safety of children in those situations. But that's what they're trying to shield from is losing their custody to be able to protect their kids. So I won't even ask you what you're going to do, but I'm just going to leave it with, think about that. Be aware of it, and I do think it requires a level of overt effort to mitigate those fears and encourage people to feel like it is a safe space, that they're able to be open and honest with the fullness of whatever their situation is, and not worry that they're going to lose their custody because of it.
And I take your comments very seriously, and I, for one, believe that the judges cannot do their jobs unless they have the full facts and information served from both parties. And again, both parties should feel comfortable enough to tell their stories. That's what we're here for, to hear their stories. So whatever I can do to make sure that people feel that they can do that with me, I want to do it. Obviously, it's hard to control what attorneys are advising their clients, but I would hope that as the attorneys get to know me as a judge, they would understand that those are facts, that's information that I would want to hear, so that I can best assess, what's in the best interest of the children in terms of the parenting relationships. I think everyone wants to continue, but we should have done it in a safe way and an appropriate way. And so I was be mindful of your advice.
No, I very much appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Sue.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Chief Pierre, on your nomination. I'm always happy to see parents who migrate into this country, wherever they're from, to see the fruit of their labor. We also have something in common. As a Haitian American myself, I'm always pleased to see, the next generation moving forward and making spaces where they can lead and make an impact in their community. And I'll make it short. I have one question. Do you believe the current family court system adequately responds to mental health needs to families, and why or why not?
That's an excellent question. I think the court, and I think pretty much all countries we do better with addressing the mental health sort of needs and capacities of those who are struggling. It's important from the judge's perspective to look at and to understand why someone might not be able to parent their child, be able to provide the care and attention. And it's not because they don't love their child, but there is some sort of barrier. And from the judge's perspective, we can take that information and make certain decisions. But again, sort of come back to the conversation of resources, make the decisions, and then what? Working many years with folks who are low income, who don't have resources readily available at home, I would spend a lot of time, my colleagues spend a lot of time, helping them find therapists, helping them understand how insurance plays into trying to get the services they need so they can become better parents. And so if there is a way for the court to be able to play a role in pointing people into the right direction of resources, that would be great. At least it's over the course of our practice. I think that's been lacking a little bit. But again, me personally, because of where I work and the attention that we pay to sort of holistic ways of learning and problem solving, those are things that we were able to do for our clients, but for self-restorative agents, they're not going to know where to go and how to access those resources. So I think the court can do a little bit better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council Career.
Thank you. Let me start by saying your post-council here is a big fan of yours, as well as Councilor Kennedy grabbed me early on, since his daughter works with you, and got to speak with them, and they have all great things to say. Judge Bethany Brown called me about you, saying you're outstanding, and you're going to make a great judge. But people from Worcester, Councilor DePaul has reached out to me as well. So you got my vote next week for sure. I'm sure you're going to be fair, and I have to say it every time we have a appropriate person. I went through a horrible experience 25 years ago with a judge yelling that joint physical custody never works, and it worked out perfectly well. And I have 3 great daughters for it. So thank you for applying, and yeah, my vote next week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I will wrap this up as quickly as I can, just because the time has nothing to do with your merit, which I think is exceptional. Councilor Kennedy, Councilor DePaulo did speak with me, as well as Judge Bethany Brown. Spoke very highly of you, have wonderful letters of recommendation. You got 20 seconds. Can you duplicate that great answer you gave me about when we had our conversation one-on-one about mental health being a factor when considering deciding matters of custody and parenting time?
Oh, well, I will try to duplicate it.
20 seconds.
I don't remember exactly what I said, but I think the point that I was trying to make was that, again, we have to recognize with litigants that there are issues of mental health, there are issues with substance abuse, and for a judge, it's important to not just hear those issues and assume that the person can be parent. We need to know the nexus, we need to know why these things are creating a barrier, if they are creating a barrier. Because there are circumstances where folks are able to live with mental health and even manage the substance abuse or alcohol, and somehow they're still able to parent. And so we just have to, as judges, as a court, just recognize that nexus and look at that before making decisions about parenting time and custody and so on and so forth.
Thank you. That's why I wanted you to say that. That's why I'm happy to be voting for you, and you're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a really good point.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. Very kind. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I hope she does.
Pleasure. We're talking very soon. Sure.
Nice meeting you guys.
Next meeting, Jonathan.
Hearing the fini.
Yeah.
So, mbakone souble pala papal so I see. OK. Nous allons faire l'autre hearing là. Tout de suite à midi. Oui. Vous voulez rester après midi non vous voulez aller pour mardi ou pour le OK.
Listen, I saw it in the
You have to win 2 out of 3. So, I have to stick around to take pictures. I did, I don't know if you remember this meeting in New York to talk about the education.
Oh, yeah? I love it.
This is the first in my life. This will happen.
Téléspectateurs de Tele Lakay, nous retrouvons aujourd'hui en dedans la cour Boston, Massachusetts, spécialement en la State House. Côté gagné Monsieur Lionel Jean-Pierre, qui, je me dirais, qui est en dedans de State House dans la cour Boston, spécialement dans Massachusetts, qui est venu pour capable de nommer juge. Peut-être on a pensé Worcester, peut-être qu'on va aller dans le mais pour le moment, je suis pas là. Nous l'avons gagné avec nous. Papa, monsieur, c'est monsieur Lionel Jean-Pierre. C'est monsieur Lionel Jean-Pierre. Et parmi eux, il y a Yves Seigneur, Tele Lakay, c'est des extensions de la campagne, qui soit invitation sa manière, et puis pour haïtienne, nos collègues haïtiens ont pire qu'il faut, je dis, spécialement dans la Boston, Walton, Randolph, et dans notre pays. Parmi comment et je veux dire, on dans la Boston, on dans la Massachusetts. Et quelle occasion qui nous a
c'est un petit garçon, est nominé pour juge.
Mon premier petit garçon qui est nominé pour juge. Mais est-ce que tu as fait un tour pour nous, et il va faire ici. Il fait ici, mais c'est Haïti, mais qui ça dit?
Il fait ici, c'est moi-même qui suis ici.
Ok. Monsieur, c'est
américain.
Ok.
C'est américain.
Mais comment tu veux?
Lionel Jean-Pierre Junior.
Est-ce que capable nous inviter, monsieur, ça nous dit non? On passe dans le monsieur. Le peuple haïtien, quand même, background.
Sorti mouvement qui fait ici. C'est dans un boiton qui s'est fait. C'est la maternité, les petits maris. Donc, le délogé dans la unité de la zone Chisbury, et puis il y a le monsieur ici, il a grandi.
Il va regarder monsieur à l'école.
Monsieur à l'école, c'est là dans l'école. Il fait primaire, secondaire, et puis après ça, jusqu'à la Bondas. Bondas Université. Et puis après ça, il y a Los et la Chiva, l'université. Monsieur Gouafti, il a commencé à travailler. Il a commencé à travailler dans le slum. C'est là qu'il a débuté. Il a commencé à travailler dans le slum.
You guys got tips and stuff. The présence de M. C'était parce que nous est-ce que je veux dire satisfait de nous?
Très satisfait.
Comment c'est pour
deux garçons.
Et qui sont capables de
All right, come on.
I'm going to speak outside. They don't get it. We don't care about that. I just said that. I'll be over in a minute.
No master.
I just said that to
le monde.
C'est un petit sorti, on vient ici pendant la commence.
Combien de temps va-t-il
Parce over almost 50 years.
Oh, on a vu des sites depuis petit.
Oui, des sites de mal de 16 ans. Donc, c'est mon grandi, c'est site de high school. Donc, les monsieur ont dit que apprendre, on va à l'école, c'est
connaissance qui compte.
Oui, exactement.
Au départ, c'est connaissance. C'est pas pour donner l'argent, pour travailler, pour travailler. C'est la connaissance.
Eh bien, nous avons tête, nous avons commencé à nous avons dit aller, et puis d'abord, toutes sortes de choses. Pas besoin de travailler.
Exactement. C'est l'école qui peut être ça.
Qui peut encouragé, toujours encouragé, qui fait tout pour les deux. Fait des grilles.
Mais qui dégré?
Deuxième, là, le master, dans le business. Monsieur actuellement, c'est le manager de la banque. À Villiers.
En banque qui monsieur?
Côté monsieur, c'est famille.
Oh, famille.
Yeah.
Comment monsieur?
Monsieur Dominique Jean-Pierre.
Dominique. Et bien, papi, je ne suis pas dans encore à dire nous, on va laisser au centre. Je ne suis pas allé sur mon travail, pour travailler avec nous, mais ils ne sont pas partis. Nouvelle génération. Et je me question.
Pour bien dire, monsieur, il va comprendre créole très bien.
Non, nous avons un petit bagage en anglais.
En anglais, donc, ça c'est fait.
Non, mais pas de problème.
On ne peut pas venir débattre pour le créole, peut-être qu'il va comprendre bien dans l'antique.
Non, pas de problème. Bah, on est sur tes cas, moi, je vais faire photo, bah, on est sur tes cas, il y a un petit moment.
Non, le relais. Ok, attends.
Téléspectateurs Tele Lakay, nous situons exactement en dedans State House, dans la Massachusetts, côté nous avons avec nous Yves Saint-Pierre, directeur exécutif de la Camas, et nous avons M. Lionel Jean-Pierre, qui, je dis, qui est nominé comme judge. Peut-être la booster, si vous même pas nommé, sous direction, c'est la booster. On a passé un statement avec elle. Et my viewers of Tele Lakay Mass, hi, Mr. My viewers of Tele Lakay Mass, right now Tele Lakay Mass live and State House of Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts. We are with you, Mr.
Lionel Jean-Pierre Jr.
Mr. Lionel Jean-Pierre Jr. is born here, according to his father, he's born here. And Mr. Lionel Jr. today is at State House just for nomination about Georgia. I don't feel this morning, after many years, your brother come in here and you born here, that you know what happened on your background. How do you feel today?
Well, I feel extremely grateful, happy to have had the support and guidance of my parents who talked to me about their upbringing and what brought them to this country and to be able to get to this point as I think a continuation of their story.
Exactly.
It's very meaningful and powerful, and I'm just grateful for everything that they've taught me and instilled in me, and that I can just really continue their legacy and tradition.
The best question I have for you, he always said between 16 and 25, kid is crazy in this country. And tell me a little bit about between 16 and 25, because now he's back. But between 16 and 25, they always say that.
With my parents.
I know with your father.
We have to be serious. We have to be serious. Look, I was fortunate enough to live in an area where, I went to good schools and I could play sports and surround myself with some friends, and really, there was no need to go crazy or do anything outrageous. And so I think I benefited from, again, my parents kind of valuing education, but also just being my best advocates and cheerleaders when I was playing sports, and they would come to my track meets and donate their time to help with the snack stands and stuff like that. And so, you know, my family was close and is close, and there wasn't really a need or an opportunity to do anything wild.
Okay, I want to be short with you. Tell me a little bit about your background, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I was born in Stoughton, Massachusetts, to Lionel Sr. and Marie Yolande, and we moved to the Marlboro area shortly thereafter. I think, well, because it was a middle ground between when my parents were working, and so I grew up primarily my formative years in Marlboro, Massachusetts, Marlboro, not a very diverse town, and we were one of only a handful of Black families, Haitian families in that area. And so my experience growing up sometimes could feel a little bit lonely and isolating, just not having a lot of peers that looked and sounded like me. But then I had the support of my family, and when things were a little bit challenging in, I would say, public schools, where I think teachers would mistake my quietness and my reservedness for not being able to perform well academically. My parents advocated strongly on my behalf and supported me, and I ended up in third grade going to a private school, a Catholic school.
Catholic school.
My parents, they worked hard. I wouldn't say that we were the most well-off financial family, but they made it work. And my academics and my sort of social circles improved from there. And again, I was able to just have a pretty normal childhood with friends and sports and academics, and become more comfortable in the spaces of where I might be one of the few. And I think that's carried me through high school, college. I went to Brandeis University, which is primarily a Jewish school, and I grew up Catholic, but I was comfortable with that. And then
the one in Waltham?
The one in Waltham, yeah. This opportunity to be, I believe, it's going to be the only Black male judge in the probate family court in the entire Commonwealth. And so I think my background and my history and my family support really helped get me to this point.
Exactly. But you think so you will be back to Worcester, or you don't know where they're going to send you?
No, they haven't told me that. They haven't told me that. I would love to be in Worcester, but that's where I work primarily. But I've also had experiences in Boston, Lowell, I've been comfortable hopefully.
What is your what you can say to the new generation? I know you're really already in your family, your dad already. You know the difference between your culture when your dad was there, and now the new generation. What the advocate can tell them, the new generation, what is they start right up to go to the end of the line. I know that. And
Haiti is experiencing some significant trauma. And even here in the United States, I can say that there are concerning issues and concerning things that are happening. And what I would say to this current generation is this: don't let those issues, don't let those difficulties define who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Know who you are, focus on your goals, and work on achieving those goals, respect and kindness to everyone that you're going to come across, because when you go through processes like I've gone through to get here, those relationships that I built were instrumental in supporting me and getting me to where I wanted to be, which is on advancement. So that would be my advice to the new generation.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
And also, now that they will get it together, maybe I can invite you on the TV station in Cambridge. I'm more familiar and desire than Worcester. But anytime I can invite you, you come into Cambridge and you can come in. I'll be happy. Anytime Asian people come on this line, I can say congratulations, and also I can say congratulations to myself.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a good day. Nice to meet you. Tele Lakay Mas, on direct, my viewers of Tele Lakay Mas live at the State House, Boston, Massachusetts. Yves Saint-Pierre, Tele Lakay Mas.
Bien content. La partie pas mal. Si que la vie va pas finir, toi, mais on va aider.
Are you finished?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, come on in.
Okay.
Candidate for Associate Justice here. Nice to meet you. Just had his hearing with us next week. Find out. Yeah, he was flying when I was on the way.
C'est plus important en tête, monsieur, parce que les messages, il gagne à pile l'autre. J'aime petit entendre, c'est correct. Parce que j'aime télé, c'est Haïti.
Qui côté
c'est dans la rue 17, mais
c'est pété
69, moi qui d'Haïti, on connaît.
Laisse-moi faire la part.
C'est ton petit paradis. C'est ton petit paradis. Le gouvernement a une différence, c'est dictateur. Mais il est tout compris un petit peu.
Non, on ne voit pas les 69. Tout le monde qui est à destin, c'est un paradis.
Où il y a là, c'est dommage. Ouais, m'a prié. Donc tout à fait des au moins venir tout le c'est ça ma
Depuis quel âge là?
Mon cher Haïti, maman était mourir et parce que maman était habité Florida. Après la Florida, tu es déjà top et puis tu es bon pour le battre au Caraïbe. Le maman n'est pas pendant maman battu Caraïbe et mourir. Wow, on vient de faire. Mais on va battre Caraïbe. Et puis on va battre Dieu. Oui. Donc, et puis papa m'a dit qu'il fait 10 ans. Après le tremblement de terre, nous faisons rentrer. Papa m'a dit qu'il était logé avec ce moi, et puis je suis venu. On est âgé. Oui. Oui, c'est que changé parce que quand il est à Haïti, parce que le gars à Haïti,
I make my own transfer.
Trying to really justify the process. Can we
No carrele, es una punta va a decir que la televisión yo quiero
c'est moi-même comme on dit tout le monde, mais c'est une question. C'est un emblème de formation. C'est de commencer dans l'histoire. qui était dans le rappel. Et puis, moi, j'ai moi l'année prochaine. Et puis, si j'étais pour la qualité souvent, oui, il faut y aller. Oh, il faut y aller.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Ceiling fan, right? Like that's his favorite thing. Looking up at the fan, like, oh, thank you. Give these fans some nice pictures and stuff.
One thing, doing it too.
Yeah, twins.
We're gonna sit.
Okay, well, we want to congratulate Lionel Jean-Pierre for being nominated to Family Public Court in Worcester. Son fierté pour nous haïtiens qui va être juge et ça fait un travail ensemble. Ça c'est Ziegler, lycée en conseil avec nous travail ensemble. C'est juste son fierté pour nous mettre au bon monde mettre en position pour aider le peuple à la communauté.
Salut tout le monde, donc c'est Eunice Ziegler, son conseiller qui représentait le district 5. Comme Tamisha fait dire là, vraiment que vraiment content de ce qu'on a avec Lionel, famille là, engagé dans l'organisation qui juge que la donc, c'est la première fois les opportunités d'engager un candidat haïtien. On connaît haïtien qui est branche. On est toujours rencontré. Donc, semaine prochaine, mercredi prochain, on a voté sur candidat Jean-Pierre. Et j'ai l'impression que la réunion juge, parce que toute responsabilité, vraiment, que monsieur bien gentil, il connaît les lois, il a fait un bon juge.
Oui, réellement, son fierté, parce que c'est pour ça que nous encourager la communauté haïtienne là. Là où nous jeunes, pour opposition, pour faire des grandes choses dans la communauté, nous demandons pour supporter, parce que même à l'UNIS, nous trouvons que c'est une première femme haïtienne qui prend place au gouverneur conseil pour faire histoire. Je dis on a fait histoire avec un autre comme juge. I know la profession de dire on ne parle pas anglais ou pas.
Anglais, we promise
I apologize for not being able to have the conversation Creole, but what I do want to say is this is an exciting moment. There's a time where something like this only seemed like a dream, but the fact that it's a reality today, I'm able to be a part of that with the support two wonderful counselors. It is truly amazing. I'm truly appreciative of both of you for taking the time to interview me, to get to know me, to vet me, and to be supportive of this and to push it forward because it is important for the communities, the Haitian community, communities in all across the Commonwealth to have not just the Haitian but to serve the entire Commonwealth. But a man of color, it's a wonderful thing. So I appreciate everything that you guys have done to support.
Thank you.
Okay, I've seen that one advertised too.
Yes.
Thank you, Tanisha. Thank you, Mr. Jean-Pierre.
Picture on this. Yes.
You guys are doing this. I'm looking down.